Welcome back to the Maximum Lawyer Podcast. I'm Tim Utrix. Jim is on assignment. And today we've got a pop-up podcast with co-founder Brett Trembly with Get Staffed Up. And Brett was actually, Get Staffed Up was a sponsor of the conference. So Brett, how you doing?
Good, man. Back home after a really fun conference last week. You guys did a great job.
Thanks, appreciate that. But let's talk about Get Stepped Up. We'll talk about the conference a little bit too, though. But tell us about. I guess start with you though. Let's know about you before we get Stepped Up. Tell us about your journey.
Sure. Law school in 05, graduated 08, worked at a small law firm, one or two attorneys. Very unhappy, unfulfilled. Always kind of knew I'd do my own thing. Start my own firm in 2011. So actually my 10th anniversary is coming up in like 10 days. And, started out like most people, high ambitions, and things took off after a few years. I started hiring people and then just relying on that sort of strategy of spending money before I had it, which is not easy to do. And it took me quite a few years to learn that and to get over my fear of failure as I learned that I had. And then look, things went really well with the law firm. It was growing and I was in a place where could maybe try a few different things. And a good buddy of mine, also an attorney, we used to meet monthly and do masterminds. And he talked about having some people offshore, and early 2018, we decided to start Get Staffed Up, and it's been a crazy fast ride ever since.
So let's talk about Get Staffed Up. And I know you all do, but not everybody knows what you do. So tell people what you do. I think it's pretty obvious in the name, which means it's a good name, but tell people what you do.
Right. So the 3-second version is we liberate lawyers with incredible offshore talent. The longer version, hopefully people say, oh, that sounds cool. Like, what does that mean? Right. The longer version is we're helping lawyers and law firms realize what bigger companies have done for a long time, and which has slowly made its way to these smaller and professional services companies, which is you can find really great team members and grow your firm virtually with full-time people, right? Because there's a difference between having a virtual assistant who's like part-time or project-based or 10 hours a week, which that's okay too, but you can place full-time people in important positions, administrative positions in your law firm, and grow that way. So you have some local staff and some offshore virtual staff, and the cost savings are incredible. And cost savings is like the audience here is lawyers. We get that, right? Because not every dollar that goes in goes our pocket, and a lot of times most of it doesn't, and it gets frustrating. So there's a better way to grow a business, and that's where your revenues grow, but your expenses don't just keep right up with it, right? It's like one of them's going up and the other is slowly going up. So what happens with the extra money? You do more marketing, you get more cases, you pay people better, you get the better attorneys. If someone has, let's say, 7 offshore virtual assistants through us, 7 or 8, they're saving Tyson about $250,000 a year on payroll compared to if they had those 7 people in-house. So again, we talked about the great resignation, and some people have really good presentations at MaxLawCon about paying people more and coming up with creative ways to keep staff happy in 2021. And to me, I mean, we just kind of got lucky with the good timing, but we fit right in with that strategy of just being a smarter way to run a law firm.
You gave me a great segue. This is what I wanted to ask you next. Like, the great resignation is a real thing, right? Finding really good talent is a really tough thing right now. Is that affecting you overseas as well whenever you're trying to find talent, or is that not the case?
The great resignation, as far as we know, is a US problem. Right? We're the ones printing money, right? So we're kicking the can down the road in terms of the national debt. And people look, nobody wants to commute anymore. That part we get. And I don't want to say spoiled, because I don't want to commute either. I just think that's just a development. That's not good or bad. But then other people don't want to work. And you know what? That's okay too. It's like people want to be entrepreneurs, or they want to have at-home jobs on their computer, like stay-at-home moms, they want to do their own thing. That's great. People aren't put on this world to work for you and me and everybody, right? Like that, they have their own lives that they need to live. Overseas, there's not the same opportunity, the same, a lot of people can't just start a new business online and make money in months 2, 3, and 4. So we're not seeing that at all. In fact, we're on average, we've built the type of machine, Tyson, where we're going to take annualized 200,000 applications for people that want to work with us and ultimately meeting with you, right? With our clients who are lawyers.
That's incredible. And I just can't imagine doing that. That's incredible. That's pretty cool. So are you done with the law firm now? Or do you still have the law firm open?
The law firm's still open. We still have 10 attorneys. It's cranking. I spent 3 years building out a leadership team. We use a system called Traction, or EOS. And so our Traction coach helped me create an owner's box. So like Traction parlance, instead of a CEO and COO, you have a visionary integrator. I'm no longer even in the visionary seat. I'm in the owner's box. So I still, I really care about the law firm. I was there yesterday doing stuff, communicating with the leadership team and the new visionary all the time. We still wanted to grow, but because I'm not putting in the time to that firm, I can't take out of it what I would as if I was full-time, right? So I'm not like raking it in from the firm either, but that's okay. That's the way we designed it. And so the attorneys there working hard are really benefiting the most right now while I focus on Get Staffed Up.
Very cool. Love it. All right, back to Get Staffed Up. So if someone were to work with you, so let's say I was going to go to you and say, hey, I need someone for medical records. I need someone to request medical records. I guess, how does that work?
So we do full-time only, as I've kind of alluded to, and we don't have a long-term contract. So if you start working with us and for whatever reason things don't work out, then things don't work out. But we have we don't call it a sales call, we call it a decision-making call, right? We get on the phone with you, we walk you through the whole process, you make a decision, do I want to move forward? Yes, no. You sign the contract, pay the one-time startup fee, which pretty sure we still have a discount going for MaxLawCon attendees. But and then what we do is yes, we're taking applications all the time, and we're constantly building it. We got boots on the ground in a bunch of countries. But out of all those people, we're filtering down to the less than the top 1%. So we're going to place about 500 and maybe next year about 1,000 VAs with our clients. But again, that's out of a huge number, the 200,000 number. So we've already narrowed it down through about 20 different steps and tests and interviews and English proficiency, so that we're finding the best of the best. And that's what we hang our hat on. Out of that pool that's left, then it becomes an executive search. We have like software that helps match people, and depending on the interview we do with you, which is like the next touch point, 45 minutes, where we find out everything that you're looking for and what position you're trying to fill. Is it a traditional position like a legal secretary, an executive assistant, a personal assistant, a receptionist, an intake coordinator, or is it like happiness, marketing, or is it just like a jack of all trades, right? So then we start placing people in front of you that we've already interviewed and vetted, and then you get to interview them and give us thumbs up or down. And if it's thumbs down, we move on to the next one. If it's thumbs up, then we have a match and we set a start date, and you're off to the races with your new employee.
See, that's quite incredible, because one of the hardest things for us, because I've gone through this so many times, is hiring. We usually hire people through Upwork. It's just easy for us, but it's really, really, really difficult to sift through to see who's good, bad, because some of these VAs, they hire companies to create profiles for them that look spectacular, but then you get them in your office and they're not good, right? So, I mean, that's a lot of upfront work that you'll have to do.
Yeah, so that's where the value proposition comes in, right? If you're a solo attorney and every penny matters to you, and I don't mean this in a bad way because I've been there, but if money is your number one thing, then the do-it-yourself model is basically the way you have to go. But as you start growing and you start to value your time over your money, because spending a little bit to then put your time on something where you make a lot, which again, just a smarter way to do it. That's where we come in. I call it the bake-off method. So if you want a good graphic designer on Upwork, what you really need to do is hire 8. Give all 8 the same project, pay them $50, and then take the top 4, give them another project, and then take the top 2, same thing, and you have your number 1 and you have a backup, right? That takes time. Time is money. As Tim Ferriss says in the 4-Hour Work Week, it's going to take about 7 tries before you find a good VA to do it yourself. I can argue that's going to cost you more in the long run than going with us. But regardless, right, it's not really a sales pitch. I still use Upwork. There's a time and a place for that type of VA. But again, that's not what we do. We're about building your law firm through full-time team members that just happen to be located in a different country.
So let's say that I chose someone that you picked. So you picked the perfect person to request medical records for me. I like them. I said, yes, I want to do them. Do I pay you? Do I pay them? How do you negotiate the fees? How's all that work?
So we have a monthly flat fee. So you would pay us, right? And no taxes on top of that, no withholding, all that. And then we handle all the back end stuff. So look, every country has different rules, they have different price points, they had a lot of different things going on. So we're the employer of record, meaning hopefully we're shielding you from any employer liability. And 2, we're doing the payroll, the withholding, the benefits, all that good stuff. That's again part of our ongoing services that we provide, as well as a replacement guarantee. So when you do it yourself and someone quits, because everybody quits, right? I mean, this is like humans. This happens. You're back to square one. When you're with us, we have a replacement guarantee. So if somebody leaves or quits for any reason, then we go right back and move you to the front of the line, and we're presenting you new profiles, within probably a week to 10 days.
I mean, that's really, really good. I mean, that's one of those things that's really, really tough. And it's also a problem that for the people that don't have VAs, they don't know that this is a problem whenever you hire VAs. You solve a really big problem. The reason why I asked about the payment is because it can be, if you don't go through a platform, if you don't go through a company like Get Staffed Up, it's really, really hard to pay people overseas. You can use things like TransferWise. Sometimes you can figure it out through PayPal, but it's really easy. It's not as easy as just sending money to them. There are a lot of things that prevent you from doing it. So that solves a big problem.
You know how many nightmares we've had growing this business, because we didn't know either, right? Like we had a few, it worked for us. We're going to start this company. Why is it so hard to move money to people? It's insane. And then you figure out a method that works, and then it doesn't. You get blocked or something happens. So yeah, it can be a lot.
Yeah, I've had a VA where I had to pay through TransferWise in the past, and then but it was weird. Like their country, they had 2 different currencies you could use, and one currency wasn't working, the other currency was working. It was like, what is going on? This is the weirdest thing. So it is an absolute nightmare. Are there any limits? Like for example, like we're hiring a chief operating officer. Do you find people at that level, or is there sort of a cap?
Right now, there's a cap. We could, and I have a friend in Seattle that does kind of like, they grow slower than us, right? Like they just want to make really good long, like it takes months and months, and they go through the whole, like an executive search. Let's say you're hiring an attorney and you got one of these firms, whatever. So the higher you go, then the more the pay is going to be, the more experience, the more savvy that person's going to be, the harder it is going to be to sort of pull them out of where they're working now. There's not just like COOs sitting around with nothing to do. If they're good, they're working. So yeah, we don't do attorneys, we don't do paralegals. I'd say yet. Someday we're gonna crack that paralegal nut, and then it's gonna be game over, right? And we don't do VP of ops and fractional chief marketing officers. We're sticking to the pain points in most law firms that people just don't staff. It's not like we're saying, hey, take the 5 people, the 10 people, fire them and hire 10 people through us. Most attorneys just don't fill those positions because it's so exhausting to train and lose and then go through the whole process again. So we're saying, take all those things that either aren't getting done in your business or that you're doing yourself. Because if you don't have an assistant, you are an assistant. Free up your time, free up your attorney's time. Let your attorneys have a VA to help with their personal life and make them more, let them share one, make them more profitable, and then figure out what to do from there. Maybe with the money you hire a fractional COO here, stateside, for example.
Yeah, there are so many things that you can use. I mean, one tiny example that we do in our firm is we've got someone that codes documents and moves them into files. So they are scanned stateside, but once they're in a folder, they are coded and put into the files by someone else. It saves us so much money each year because there's so many documents that come in through the mail, which is absurd to me still, but it still has to be dealt with because we have so many medical records come through the mail. And we just don't want our people, we don't have to pay a paralegal to do that. That is just a waste of money. So there's things like that. Think about all those things in your firm that you can do that for. And you can save yourself so much more money and you make your people happy, right? Like your paralegals, your receptionists, all your attorneys, you're making them happier.
I mean, I should hire you, not that you'd work for me, but like you're speaking my language here. You're going to not only save so much money, but sometimes when like an office manager gets involved, they feel a little threatened. But if it's presented in the right way, it's like these people are going to help do all the tasks that you don't want to do. What paralegal wants to sit there and code all day, right? Or do data entry? Those are the first things you look. And get me on a little high horse here, but attorneys, we hate invoicing. We hate invoicing. Now, not contingency firms, but the rest of us, that's how we get paid. We have to send an invoice, and yet we hate it. So it goes on forever. And AR, it's like there's some mental hang up. I hate it. It was one of the first things I got rid of. Why not hire a billing clerk, pay him $18.50 a month, which is nothing, full time. Let him help make your time entries look better. So what we do is we have all of our, instead of going in, we use Rocket Matter, right? Most people use Clio. But instead of going into each matter every time and entering point 1 and point 5, keep it on an Excel spreadsheet. At the end of the day, save it and you're done. Someone else goes in, populates all the data entry, runs invoices, you check them real quick, sends them out, collects. I mean, that's the perfect position to start with, for example.
So we do have a question. Dan Myers has a few questions. You sort of already addressed this, but just in case we didn't cover all of them, Dan wants to know, how do you handle employment laws and compliance for attorneys where the assistants are in offshore locations? Who takes care of legal compliance? Are they all true independent contractors or employees?
So we take care of, like, Get Staffed Up is the employer, right? And so we're in, I think, 8 countries, and we have sort of legal teams in these countries with entities set up to handle all that stuff. So, there's been, again, we're not 4 years old yet, but there's been a lot of just legwork and groundwork put in to make sure that we're handling all these things. Now, that said, some people prefer to be paid as independent contractors. So yes, some people are independent contractors, some are employees. That's kind of a mixed bag for us right now. And not that it's relevant, but we're kind of moving to a new model soon. So, but that's like all back end stuff, right? We negotiate the salary, and frankly, we're trying to pay people more than other people because we don't want the turnover for you. And we want the best of the best. So yeah, we handle all that.
So I do have a question when it comes to things like case management systems. We use Filevine. Someone else might use CasePeer. Someone else might use Clio. Who's responsible for the training on things like that? Is that something that we would be responsible for? Is that something that you all take care of? How does that work?
The training?
Yeah, like obviously there's going to be some training where we have to train them on our system, but like specifically when it comes to case management systems, are you all going to go try and find someone that already has experience with Filevine, or is it something you all are going to train them on Filevine, or is it something
Yeah.
where we would train them on Filevine?
It's a great question, and it's an important question. I can't imagine more than like one person out of 6 billion or 6.5 billion, maybe like one or two or three people living in another country that have experience with like Clio and Filevine and these types of things, right? We're not finding a paralegal that you're from day one. And a lot of people ask for this, but if they like really think about it, come on, guys, it doesn't exist. The unicorn just don't exist. When you're not going to find someone from day one who's trained and who changes your law firm and like you set it and forget it. Now, you want to pay me 10 times as much, you and I can cut a deal and I'll train someone, right? That's a very expensive, heavy duty lifting. So because every law firm is so different and their systems, and some use Outlook and some use, Google Suite, and some use, like you said, Filevine and Clio and everything else, we can't train anyone onshore or offshore to work in your law firm. What we do is we have what we call a university that we put our people through in order to ever even start being considered for placement in with one of our clients. We have a graduation process. Like they have to prove to us that they're going to be able to work. So we're teaching the basics. But what we tell our clients is we're finding energetic, hardworking, talented people that are educated, but they're raw. Like you're going to have to train them just like you would any other person in your firm. So I want people to think of this as insourcing, not outsourcing. You're not giving away your work to another company. That company's bringing someone in like a recruiter to help work on your team. So they're your team member, full-time, 40 hours a week. You train them. They're in your morning huddles. They're in your annual parties. Hopefully you add a virtual element, monthly gatherings. Like the more you treat people virtually, just like team members, but you can't see them in person, the better off that your firm will be.
Love it. Great answer. That was a perfect answer. I feel like I gave you a softball. That was good.
Yeah, I'm used to these questions.
So, and that's why I'm trying to ask you a question I figured that other people might have.
Yeah.
We are at time. So how do people get in touch with you if they want to hire, get staffed up, or at least get more information?
Definitely. Getstaffedup.com. It's like we have a contact us now or, hire now button on like every part of our website. So getstaffedup.com. If you are going to fill out requests for like contact info, just put in there Max LawCon so you can get your discount, because I'm 90% sure we still have that running. If not, I know a guy mentioned this podcast, and we'll do something for you.
Very cool. Hey, Brett, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks so much for supporting the conference. We appreciate it. We would not have been able to put on the conference if it weren't for sponsors like you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tyson. I had a great time and appreciate being on. Take care.